Hey everybody, Jeremy Ambrose from Zendesk. Yes, I work in the VC partnerships team. So my day to day is very much working with VCs, with accelerators, with other startup champions in the ecosystem, like Filippo as well. In fact, we've got an event at Web Summit next week with Filippo and OVH Cloud, so we work quite well together. Um, I'm here to support startups on their growth journey. If I can help them with any kind of overcoming inflection points, opening up the little black book that I've got. And if it's tailored towards CX strategy, customer experience, then even better. I think it's probably pertinent to talk about my background. I'm also a co-founder and director of a large accelerator in the UK, which we sold in 2018 to NatWest. Some of you may have been through it, or some of you may have actually gone through or been part of. My company's Entrepreneurial Spark, and they run the NatWest Accelerator now, which used to be Entrepreneurial Spark. But anyway, carried on running that from 2018 through to now. It's still going, and we now work with many people across the globe, but primarily the UK Space Agency to drive scale and growth in startups that are looking to go to space or work in the space sector, which has been really interesting. But yeah, today is mainly about CX and customers and putting the love back into our customers that we should be giving them. So pleasure to be here. Yeah, and I'm so glad that it's an interactive session. We get more out of it when everybody kind of puts in their experiences, share best practice, and goes from there. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
so every week during the program, we ask the founders to tell us how many users or potential users they've spoken to. And a big part of how you're gonna build a successful business is by having customers who absolutely love your product. So this came up on Monday about doing a quiz. How disappointed would you be if this product didn't exist anymore? And you want to have at least 40% of people, I think Rosie said, say they'd be extremely disappointed, because then you know that you're really building something that solves a massive problem, and you're gonna be able to retain your customers, and they're gonna be championing you and referring you, and that's how you'll build up your business. So how do we set up that from the ground up? So this could be customers, or it could be potential customers, I guess, if you're pre-launch as well. We just wanted to kick off by asking for a few examples that anybody has of either a really good customer service experience or a really bad customer service experience that you've had within the last week, let's say. So if anybody wants to just take themselves off mute and just share an experience of a really good customer service experience with a really bad one, and then how you responded to that as the customer or potential customer if you didn't actually go through and make a transaction because of it. We're going to sit here like awkwardly, quietly until someone.
I can set it up because pretty weird to chat about this before. So I'm a member at the Ned, and not because I'm bougie, they have a really good 30 under 30 discount, and it's like the same cost as we work. I feel like I need to say that. Anyway, it's really nice whenever you go there, and like they recognize the members, and they always say like welcome back instead of like welcome to, and they have like greeters at the door. And also, like, if they see you coming back and you remember, they'll let you skip the queue and always like hold the door open for you. And it's just really nice. And then whenever you're sitting in, because their cafes are also workspaces. So a lot of people just go in there to, work and aren't ordering drinks or anything, but they'll still come and bring you water and like refresh your water throughout, while you're sitting there too, even if you aren't buying anything. And then they bring out like fresh cookies in the afternoon too for free. And then on sunny days at the pool, they'll just bring you ice cream for fun. And so it's like always like small little things to kind of like surprise and delight you. But it says like small things that really are quite nice and elevate the experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
Signing us off. James.
Can can I just jump in there very quickly? Sorry, because it's a really good point on a big facet of customer service is personalization and being able to do that at scale and using those data points to actually personalize and tailor make an experience for you. Even though they'll be doing that for everybody else that walks through the door, it feels personal to you because they're using the language to actually tailor make it to your journey to get to that point so far. So yeah, really important to think about that that personalization and how you do that within your business. Yeah, love it.
Nice. James, did you have an experience?
Yeah, just trying to make this engaging and contribute something. So I've got a business which shares information surfing community. I also have a YouTube vlog, which I don't put my face on. So it's not a vanity piece. It's about saying, here's some treasure, and I go and share it with the audience. That's the kind of precursor to my business. So 8 p.m. under floodlights in Bristol, surfing some barrels last Saturday. Someone paddles up to me and says, hey, I know your voice. Just want to say, I love what you're doing. It's great for the community. It's really helping like people like me. It's like, okay, fantastic. 8 a.m. the next morning, Sunday, someone comes out of the session we've just been in, comes up, shakes my hand, just introduce themselves, been surfing 15 years, never really progressed, but what you're doing and the tools you're providing is really helping. I'm like, wow, thanks for saying that. And then as I do the 20-minute walk down to the car park, I say hello to people. Total random bloke walks past, double takes, says, are you Hody James? And I say, yeah, I am actually. He said, well, I started training at the wave pool because of your videos and what you're doing in the business. Just wanted to say hi, and introduce myself. So there's a lot of resilience involved in being a founder and a lot of crap, and you kind of wonder, am I actually doing this? So some positive shares from the last 48 hours. And to Purdy and M's point, customer proximity, one of the big pushes for our company is that we're in the water for getting all the frustrations customers are having, because that's me. So we see thousands of customers, speak to customers all the time, and yeah, that's my contribution to share.
Yeah, I love that, James. It's always nice to get positive feedback as well. I think I'm going to come at this in a couple of ways, because first off, it's easy to get carried away with the positive feedback, and to get clouded by, oh, I'm doing a great job, I don't need to change anything. And I'm not saying you do, and that's certainly what I'm saying. For the general audience, I think the more you elicit feedback and the more that you're out there with your customer asking them questions, the more likely you are to find little nuggets of information and insight to allow you to change the system or a process to help that customer get to value quicker, to help that customer buy from you more easily, or to understand the value that you actually give to somebody and your USP, your unique proposition. But also, it also allows you to look for those moments that are not so positive, and to also then use that insight to go back and change something to drive that customer adoption, to drive that back to value, or to convert a customer from somebody else to you. So always, I saw a great thing at ABCD, always be collecting dots, ABCD, and it comes from a famous restaurateur, but he was saying you've always got to be collecting those little dots of information to allow you to then put together the whole circle and to keep people and retain people. So yeah, love that, James. Yeah.
I might share a bad one, or if anyone else has a bad customer experience that they want to share, you can raise your hand as well. But I've been talking about this. I've been complaining to Em about this for like at least 2 weeks. So I won't name and shame the company, but it's the accountancy software that we use, and we paid for a rapid, speedy return on our corporation tax return. They work by SLAs, so they got it to us at the very last minute of the last day of the speedy 5-day window that they could return it in, and everything was wrong with it, like completely untrustworthy, clearly very rushed. And everything, this was about 2 weeks ago, and then everything that's happened since then, when we message, and you can't contact them on the phone, so you have to contact via a live chat. So every time we message, it's at least 48 hours until we hear anything back. And the whole experience has been so frustrating that I actually would never recommend. I not only would I not recommend them, I tell people not to use them at this point, because it was such a bad experience that I've completely turned against them, and it's not even over.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on. Why aren't you naming and shaming? No. I'm not gonna. No, don't worry, don't finish. It's really interesting, again, kind of pulling out the nuts and bolts of that. First off, an SLA, which then goes to the last second, and then they deliver rubbish. It's important to understand that. Yeah. Thank you, James. throw me off. So SLA is a big part of your delivery and service, and you need to make sure that you max those. I think anything in an SLA, you have to under promise and over deliver on your SLA. So always come in time. And if you don't get that across the line in time, then you, in terms of what you've said that you, right, I'm getting confused here. SLAs. Make sure you under promise and over deliver on them, and make sure that you build yourself time to get the quality work done to deliver the value to the customer. And relax. The other thing is the return rate on your inquiries to said accounting software company. I think it's really important that we get back to our customers very quickly, and that's almost goes without saying, right? But the whole point of us getting back to them is to help them get back to the value that you're delivering for your product or service in a good way. Because the longer it goes, the longer they don't have interaction with you, the more likely they are to leave or to get dissatisfied and start telling people that actually your service is awful. And then they become a detractor on the NPS score front, and then they're talking to 20 people instead of 5 people, to 20 people about the product, the service that you're offering. So very important to those customer contact times, and actually CSAT scores, customer satisfaction scores, increase the shorter time that you get back to them, and that's both within first time response. So that doesn't have to be a personalized thing. It'd be great if it felt personal, but just to say, hey, we're coming back to you, our team are operating between these hours, so expect a response here. And that just sets up a level agreement that allows me to know when I'm going to hear from you. But if you can actually come back and go, here's the response, here's a time that I'm going to call you, and it books it in, and then you actually call them back, or you message them back, or it goes through a ticking and gets to the right person. That full response time to get somebody the response that they require is really pertinent to delivering on a better CSAT score. Yeah. I can see a question in chat. Do you want me to go into that, or do you want me to
let's
hold off and hear some more experiences?
Let's kick off with Wes's question. Then we've got some questions that we're going to go through, and we want to get all your guys' experience or best practice and tips as well. But let's just tackle Wes whilst we're here. Wes, I'm going to take this in a more kind of broad term, because one of the biggest trends that we're seeing coming out of, so again, rewind. Zendesk does a trends report every year, and we're actually just waiting on the newest one for 24-25 coming out very shortly, which will be very interesting. But one of the big things in 2024 was that even as startups, you have to have an omni-channel presence. What do I mean by an omni-channel presence? You have to meet your customer where they want to be met. That includes, if somebody wants to email you, you've got to be connected in via email. If somebody wants to WhatsApp you, and that's their preferred method of communication, you have to have that plugged in. Facebook Messenger, IG, wherever that customer wants to interact with you, you need to be there. And I'm not saying if one customer has to come and speak to you in that way, you have to plug in WhatsApp. But as soon as you see a tipping point of a percentage of your customer base wanting to chat to you in a certain way, that's when you turn that on. In terms of customers via WhatsApp, predominantly people plug in WhatsApp for business. It's not a personal thing, but more and more of the population, certainly in the UK, are using WhatsApp, and abroad are using WhatsApp. So yeah, it's a good method of communication, and it's instant as well. And you can have it anywhere. It doesn't have to be plugged into it. You don't have to access to your email and start writing emails and things. So yeah, I think it's a good way of customering if they want to be contacted in that way. And it's up to you to find out if they want to be connected in that way to you. Yeah, that actually ties in quite well to what I wanted to chat about first, which is how how are you guys contacting customers before they're even customers, and kind of what's the line, which I guess WhatsApp might fall into this, because is it spammy if you're messaging someone or sending a bunch of text messages or whatever it might be before they're customers, and does that put them off, or does it kind of keep you top of mind? So if there's anyone on the call who is regularly contacting potential customers before they're customers as part of their onboarding or marketing, it would be great to hear from you. And then Jeremy, any best practice or any tips you have for founders that want to do that? Anyone got any experience?
Yeah, I'm actually going through it at the moment. We've been selected as a supplier with a government grant scheme. So the Irish government's allocated €2 million to helping SMEs improve their cybersecurity. And it's a bit of a pivot from what we were doing, a small one, in terms of getting out there and engaging clients and having to partner with consultants to deliver the service on our software. So it's reaching out to those clients, which is quite a struggle at the moment. We're trying to get our website updated and build a strategy around it. It's going to be quite difficult, spending a lot of time on emails, hoping to get a response back. And some of them are just, it's not structured. We could do with some like structured approach on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else experiences before I kind of chime in? Okay. 75%, it's up to it was 70, it's now 75% of startups don't have a CX strategy that they kind of live and breathe or are implemented into their business. And unfortunately, it's one of the first things that goes out the window because we don't have time or money to actually put into this. We want to get a product up and running. We want to get our website developed. We want to get our first sale. We want to be out there selling something. But actually, the longer you take to actually build out the CX strategy from the beginning, from the bottom up, the more likely you are to convert. When I talk about a CX strategy, it's not a rocket science thing. And if I kind of build it back, if I build it from day dot, it's about understanding where your customer is right now, the pains that they're solving, and how are they actually solving those pains right now, where you fit into that as a solving of a pain on the pain scale. So are you a jewelry, a nice to have? Are you a kind of a painkiller in terms of an aspirin in the middle? Or are you oxygen that is, we all need it to survive? And understanding where you are on that pain scale, understanding the value that you deliver. So your value proposition. And when I talk about value proposition, I'm not saying, well, I guess what I am saying is that this is the unique set of benefits, not features, unique set of benefits that you deliver to your customer, or you promise to deliver to your customer. So you understanding your value proposition is really crucial. So understanding the customer journey, understanding where they are now is a great starting point to then understand where on that journey, where they are, where they hang out, where on that journey can you intersect them with a message, with a piece of marketing, with a conversation, with something that can just distract them a little bit to look at your business. Not everybody is your customer. I think that's also key, right? Not everyone is your customer. So you've got to understand who it is, where they are, and how do I intersect them and have a conversation with them in some form. That's the development or the beginnings of a CX strategy. Another place I would start is have a designated time per week. And I'm saying per week because if you miss it once, you'll get it every 2 weeks. Have a designated time in your diary to talk about the customer. Now, if you've got customers, great. What are they saying? How are they interacting with the product? Where are they on social medias? What are they saying on there about you and your product? Are we actually engaging with them to get product feedback? If you've got customers, great. Put that time in the diary. If you don't have customers, put that time in the diary and consider where they are now. How is their pain evolving? How are they solving it? What's the competition out there that you're looking at? And how are the other ways that other people are coming at it? And how can you do something differently to help solve that pain? But it starts with putting that time in the diary, putting the customer on the table and going, right, let's discuss this. Because it's quite easily goes out. That's when you build a customer-centric business. And that's really important. Sorry, Peter, go on.
I was just going to say, is there a difference when you've got users, but the user isn't the person that's paying? So your customer is different to your user. Should you be focusing more of your attention on the user or the customer, or like equal attention to both?
So if I go down the chain there to the user, not the buyer.
Yeah.
Right. So your B2B, B2B2C, go to the C, because their adoption and their use of the product is going to drive the buying decision, the way they're solving the value. So you have to keep them happy to then keep the business happy to then keep customers and retain them, right? So there's different values that are derived from your organization for each of those parties, but it's up to you to understand the business that you're providing or paying is paying you. What is the value that you deliver to them that they can then deliver to their customer? And you have to make sure that you can turn that up when you need to then drive a rebuy, a renewal, or adoption of other stuff that you've got. And that, I'm talking software there, but it's the same as any kind of widget selling company as well. If they're passing that widget on to somebody else, you need to know the value that's being provided, so they can sell more to that customer. Yeah.
Leon has a question around a bit around pricing, but I guess tying into a customer love perspective. Leon, do you want to take yourself off mute and let Jeremy know what you're asking?
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you.
Oh,
Hello.
thanks. So I've got a product that sells at a premium price, but with a small number of customers, and they absolutely love it. But I want them to buy frequently and often, and even on a smaller level. They place some large orders once in a while. So I'm wondering about pricing strategies for that, because from my own experience, that there's a product that I particularly love that's on sale at Waitrose, and I've noticed that every so often they do a 2-for-1. So I just stock up on large amounts with that. So I'm just wondering about how to avoid that sort of customer process.
That's a different. It's an interesting question, because you can kind of come at it two ways. First off, what is it about the customer experience that is driving the just buy at a certain time or when they need it? And then there's that pricing strategy, go-to-market strategy, which is driven by also the value, buying cycles. It's driven by the cost. It's driven by all sorts of other things. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on that kind of CX bit, because that's probably where I'm best placed to answer this question. And then on the go-to-market side, I think definitely ask that question of a pricing strategist or somebody who's going to help you with that. So I think to determine, and again, I'm kind of dipping into that side as well, but to determine the buying cycle or the why somebody buys, or that tipping point of reason and motivation to buy, we should be speaking to our customers and understanding what are their buying cycles. What are the decisions that influence them to buy at a certain time period of the year, and that also comes from the value that you're, the value proposition that you're driving. So I think a good question to be asking the customer is, why do you buy from us? And you can ask that in many different ways, but in terms of, what pain are we solving for you? What is it in your KPIs or your business measurements that are we helping you solve? And that's a big step that we all need to take, is to understand why somebody buys from us and understand what we're helping them achieve in their business or in personal life, customer B2C. What are we actually delivering for them? and as soon as we kind of understand those cycles, we understand where we are on that pain scale for them, then that then helps us come back and go, well, actually, here's what the pricing looks like. I know that there's going to be a lull or a dip in July when everybody goes on holiday. So here's where we need to put that offer in that you might be talking about to encourage people to buy. All of that kind of comes from insight derived from customer interaction. And there's probably a lot of you here going, oh, it's so hard to get a response from these people. It's so hard to actually get somebody to fill in a survey. And that's where you have to understand that you have to have multiple touch points along the way that are measuring interaction with any customer at any given time, before and after they bought from you. Because don't just rely on one method like a survey. That's not going to help you. Have a survey, have an email campaign, see how many people are reading your emails. Have some software into your website that shows people how they navigate your website and where the buying cycle falls down. Have collect data from a web page on a chat function that allows you to actually determine who these people are, where they are. There's a whole load of touch points that you have that gives you insight to then make those decisions on when to actually put a discount in, when to raise your price. Yeah. So for me, it starts with customer insight, data, and actually doing something with that data.
Thank you very much. Very useful.
Has anyone here got a kind of trickier onboarding process for their customers, so it's not as easy as someone navigating through a website and clicking on a buy it now button and then all of a sudden they're a customer? Has anyone got something that's way more complicated that they want to share, and we can maybe discuss as a group how to potentially make that easier? Kim, I saw you nodding your head.
Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely a need for compliance on one side, and then maybe a third party supplier or contract with another entity. So it's not as easy as just getting the client on. In order to deliver the value, you've got to do some things that meet GRC requirements or compliance requirements, and then you also need to get other key stakeholders to sign off as well to get the value delivered on the products. Get a bit complex.
Yeah, and I think again, I'm going to put quite a simple lens on it and go, actually, who is your customer in that? Who is the person that's going to make a buying decision, or somebody who's going to actually give you cash from a grant perspective? What are the metrics that they have to see within that grant process, or that? And I don't know the ins and outs of your business,
Sure. Yeah.
But you did mention that you were going for grant funding at the moment. So if I look at that, you still have a customer. You still have somebody who you have to understand the needs of. They still have a process that they have to go through, and you understanding that process more and more, understanding how others have gone through that process. What are the key points that have won other people that business? So actually, if they've sold to somebody that you know, or they bought from somebody you know, then go and speak to them, and get that customer insight that way. It's just crucial that your B2B, B2B2C, B2C, all of those variations, you still have a customer. So getting the data, understanding it, analyzing it, and then acting on it is so important, no matter who your customer is. And if it's a stakeholder, understanding the level and the hierarchy of stakeholders to actually make that buying decision as well. Because what you don't want to be doing is talking to A, gatekeepers, B, people who really don't have a buying decision. You need to be up the chain to the people who do have the buying decision, so you can shorten that sales cycle down to its minimum. And I guess that kind of brings me to the other point, is understand your sales cycle. Because if you monitor a sales cycle, it's all well and good you kind of going 5 months and getting that sale over the line and celebrating it, but at what point did you get a question about something? At what point did that person actually then refer you to somebody who did have the buying decision? All of that is really interesting and valuable data to go, right, how do I actually shorten that cycle with my next customer? And also get them to value quicker with the product service that you're trying to deliver. It might all be on their side. That's cool, as long as we understand that and we understand the process next time as well. So that cycle is really important to measure, understand, and always be collecting those dots of insight and information during a sales cycle, not just at the end.
John also posted in the chat that there's a few potential ways, I guess, that customers can onboard themselves. Or we got to validate smart meters by asking for either a credit card, a bill upload, or the incredibly long hidden number somewhere on a smart meter display. So I don't know if there's any advice you've got for someone that can do like a number of different things to, I guess, validate the best way to onboard customers.
Bill upload, incredibly long hidden numbers, hidden soft somewhere on the smiley display. Is this for new customers, John? Where's John?
Yeah, sorry, I'm hiding because I've got a small child running, making loud noises.
That's okay.
Yes, it's for new customers. So it's a requirement in terms of the data security requirements around smart meters that you have to validate that the consumer belongs to a property, one of those three ways. Because we're B2B2C and working largely with employers, my instinct is that probably we're going to find the credit card is a more acceptable route because it's kind of given credibility by the fact that an employer has recommended us, but it's still, well, any one of those things is just a bit of a nightmare. So
yeah, yes. Interestingly enough, it's one of the biggest barriers that we see to people adopting Zendesk is the addition of a credit card. That includes startups, and we're removing that as of January, so that more people can adopt Zendesk. And I know you might not be able to remove one or all of those things. So it's if you can't get around it, then it's about the how you do it, and the messaging and the process of how to do those things, and making it as easy as possible and as seamless as possible for them to actually deliver you the thing that they need to deliver to you for you to onboard them. I get it. It's not an easy process. I hate putting my credit card details in anyway because I will always forget to cancel, or I will always forget, or I always be suspicious that this is going into the. In fact, I had it with not the Ned, Soho House. Their system for memberships has gone down for payments, and I got hold of them, and then I get this random email saying, "Hey, yeah, just transfer X amount to this bank account." I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." So, and trying to get through that process is ridiculous. But I understand the sensitivity around it from a customer's point of view. So I would also say, right, what's the easiest methodology to tick those boxes all at once in a seamless fashion, but can you stagger it? Or there's something about being able to automate it into an onboarding process that I'm trying to pick up on, I think might be helpful to you, John. And I might come back to you if that's okay. I'm sure it'll spark up in the conversation.
Amazing. Sorry, I should probably just submit this by chat, but one of the things we've explored with is whether we can access non-smart meter data to give them some value in demonstrating we have an insight about their energy consumption, even if it's just annual usage, almost to validate the fact that we're a useful thing before then we ask for them to go through that process. I think we're probably only testing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes more. Yeah, I get this. Makes more sense. I'm going to come back to that motivation to buy and the scales of tipping the point to actually get somebody to act on something. And if you can put enough value in front of them, or proposed value in front of them, that should tip them over the edge of A, motivation to buy, or B, to take action. So I think actually you've answered your own question there. It's delivering them enough value to get them over the hurdle of putting their card details in, their uploading their bill or whatever. But yes, perceived and proposed value to the customer is always going to tip those scales in motivation to buy or to actually get them over the line to add their details. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's
the
important.
point about
Yeah.
communicating it is really good, though. I'm just thinking through how we communicate it get better, because I don't know we've given enough thought to that. So yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
There's also, I guess, the kind of opposite problem to that problem, which is that I was talking to a scale up the other day, and they got someone to buy technically. So the decision maker adopted their product, but they don't earn any money until people start using it. So it's kind of like a freemium model, but it's a huge B2B business selling into the healthcare industry. And so it could save the company loads of money. So the CFO, or I think that was the decision maker, was the one that signed off on it. And then it's the shift managers within hospitals who have to start using it to do the shift management, but they don't want to, or they use WhatsApp, or they're just using their traditional method, which means that the actual company isn't making any money, and it's going to make the renewal process really hard. And it's probably the same as having a freemium technology business where it's really easy for someone to go through that journey to make a purchase decision, or a decision to download the product or whatever, but then actually getting them to engage with it to the point where they're happy to pay for it later, that's like a whole other issue. So I don't know if any of the founders here have that as their business model. So you don't need to pay anything as the customer, but then you need to encourage customers to use it in order to get them to maybe hit a paywall later down the line, or to get whoever the decision maker is to want to renew after a certain period of time, or just for you to make money. You have to have people to use it in order for you to make money, because you make a percentage of transaction fees or something like that. Is anyone in that position? No.
I can add a bit in there, because it's certainly for those people that are trying to get people to adopt and to actually acquire customers as well. Over the past few years, there's an increased cost of customer acquisition, and that is around 70% greater cost of acquisition. And this is for B2B SaaS, B2C as well. There's a 60 to 80% lower product value that people are perceived in whatever you're offering, and customers' willingness to pay for features and add-ons and things has also dropped. So, which doesn't sound great, does it? It sounds like a really real doom and gloom. But I guess the answer to it is, and I'm going to give you an example. And I've given this before, but I think it's really important. Retention and acquisition. If we increase each of those sides by 1%, so if we increase acquisition by 1%, or we're able to actually increase retention by 1%, what do you think the reaction is, or what do you think the return on gross revenue is, one compared to the other, if we increase either side by 1%? Go on, you can put it in the. I'll have it as an X. So is it 1.5?
I think. Can you hear me? I think.
Yeah, go on.
Retention has a longer value for the company in terms of in relation to the cost to acquire a new customer.
Yeah. So so if you increase retention and acquisition by 1%, your return is actually 3.9x better on retention return on gross revenue. 3.9x on gross revenue. So when you've got a customer, it's all about retaining them, and there's a number of reasons why. And I think it's quite obvious to say that if you get a returning customer, you don't have to have the cost of acquiring them. The other thing is, if they're happy, they're out there talking to other people about onboarding to whatever you're doing. They become promoters of your business and essentially part of your marketing angle for acquisition. and that reduces the cost of acquisition. So you're actually getting more out of them. You also, the more you understand that customer, it allows you to understand how to upsell, how to cross sell, how are they using your product or service, and what could they do next. I mean, I always get loads of recommendations on many different places where I buy things from. Hey, you bought this, other customers have bought that. And that's essentially what we want to be able to do to retain them, to increase that gross revenue. I'm not saying, what I'm not saying here is turn off your acquisition, right? We just need to be able to give it a boost with retention, and we need to be able to kind of turn the tap or turn the temperature up on that retention so that we can drive gross revenue. And that actually falls, I mean, I've got a stat here actually. Startups often spend 5 times more on acquiring new customers than retaining existing ones, which, considering that 3.9x is a better return on retention, is crazy to me. But actually, coming down to the profits, Bain & Company, there we go. So Bain & Company did a report that indicated a 5% increase in customer retention. And that's, that's more than we're saying in 1%, but a 5% increase in customer retention can lead to 25 to 95, which is a big gap. But 25 to 95% increase in profits. So coming down that gross revenue down to profit level, 25 to 95%. I mean, I think we'd all like a 25% at the lowest angle of that, better return on our gross profit. So, yeah.
Yeah. Adam just posted in the chat. Adam, I know you're at a conference, so it might be loud in the background, but if you can you take yourself off mute? I think this is somewhat feedback for Zendesk, but also might be useful from a how do you get people over the line perspective when you're a SaaS product.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I am surrounded by people as well. So, yeah, hi Jeremy, good to see you. Apologies for my slightly late arrival here. I'm on 2 devices, so you're hearing from one and seeing on another. Yeah, so I've sort of been enthusiastic about onboarding to Zendesk, but as we stumble through our what has been the last few months of preparing to launch, I feel like now is a great time to be able to assess things at a very low level. But if it was a 6-month rollout, then I'm stuck with doing very little at the front while we ascertain best use, and then actually wanting to use it in a sort of scalable way as we go through our sort of customer life cycles and working out how long they're going to be with us and when we've actually hit the mark. Is there an alternative, or as I've posted, a bit like a credit system, something that you can maybe position as an amount of use rather than a term?
Yeah. So we've done. I mean, I'm going to speak for Zendesk because there's obviously other people who do it differently. We give the 6 months free to allow you to have that 6-month period of understanding what you need, what you don't need, because it's a huge service. There's loads of different parts to it, and I would quite actively say that until you acquire a customer or 10, then don't use Zendesk, because you won't get the value from it, and therefore we won't retain you as a customer. So actually, it's not for everybody. It's a customer service software. So if you're in a position where you are ready to understand your customers from a better position, monitor them, speak to them, get them back to value quicker, have a knowledge base of frequently asked questions that you can kind of use the chatbot system to actually dip in and dip out of, get an answer for you, and allow you time back on the business to work on growing that business instead of working in it, replying to everybody, then it's time for you. So actually, I would only say it's right for you if you want to use it for the CRM side of things. And the CRM side of things can actually drive business. You can do your messaging out there to multiple campaigns and to drive people to actually become a customer and use the CRM system side of it. But for what we're known for, and that's the customer service suite, I would wait until you've got customers to be able to do that. In terms of the 6 months, that is the whole point. We put it in there for free for you to go through it, understand it, figure out what you do and don't need, and then come back to us when you're ready to buy and you're using it to go, actually, I don't need this, but I do need this. Can we come up with a price that actually fits my model of business? Like, yeah, of course we can. But yeah, that's what we use it for. And also, there are many people in our team who will help startups. We have CSMs who actually, customer support managers who actually, also customer success managers, who will help you on board. who will help you get to the point where you understand the product. It's plug and play. Even I can do it. I'm not even a technical person, and I did it for a business that I run, and it's dead easy to get to value. So yeah, Adam, it may not be for you right now. I know your business. I've met you a few times, but it might not be for you now, and just hold off until it is, so that you do get the value from it.
I know this isn't it. Sorry,
Karen.
No, you get.
Okay. Yeah, so you're right. It's a chicken and egg scenario of not being able to see the inner workings of what you offer, and even being able to advocate rather than listen. Because I've appreciated everything you've said over the last couple of years. The stumbling start, as I call it, is actually speeding up quite rapidly. We're onboarding some staff. We've got a second business we've got, which is feeding into the model. So there are questions as to how quickly we would suddenly need it. If we're going from we've got over 100 beta users now, and we're looking for that to become a more stimulated feedback rather than the model we've got right now, which is very ad hoc and will take feedback in a number of different channels. So the CRM side, that sounds interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. But again, if I did it now, I wouldn't see the monetary value. I might see the onboarding process. I might see the inner workings, but we wouldn't get best use out of it. What I'd want to do, and I think other startups would probably feel the same, is get the most monetary value out of the 6 months, not just the assessment process. That's just my take on it. And I think I speak for a few others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's another thing to kind of put in there. And I sat on a round table with some folks who are big users of Zendesk, and it was nice because it was good interaction to get a bit of insight. And one of them said that as soon as something becomes at least 20% of your diary, then you should look for software or something or a hire to actually solve that problem for you. 20%. I thought, okay, but so what if 20% of your working week is spent talking and interacting with customers, then why don't you have a software, or why don't you have a key hire in that area to support you? I thought 20% was actually quite low, but she runs a very successful business, and yeah, that was always been her mantra. But yeah, and again, I'm not going to yeah, you're working with I'm not going to advocate for people to start using Zendesk if they're not ready for it. I'm really not, because you won't get the value from it, and then we won't retain you as a customer when you can see the value of it. So, but if you are ready, if you've got 100 people, Adam, if you've got 100 people that you want to interact with or more, you want to get more insight from them, you want to measure them, you want to understand where you can make them happier, you want to figure out how they're interacting with your software, what are the frequently asked questions that they're using, and be able to point them back to value quicker, then definitely start using Zendesk and the Service Suite. Yeah, but if it's onboarding and getting more people on board, then I know we've talked about acquisition versus retention. Primarily put yourself onto that retention side, but if it's acquisition, you're marketing campaigns and you're doing all that kind of stuff, then it's a CRM you need.
Yeah. Just thinking about your 20% thing, I was like, God, I'm definitely spending 20% of my week dealing with this accountancy drama at the moment, but hopefully not for much longer. I don't want to stay on the topic of Zendesk specifically too long, but just because there was another question in the chat that goes quite well with what you were just talking about. For anyone that doesn't know, Rohith also posted in the chat, what is Zendesk's approach to customer integration, particularly with emerging businesses? Rohith, I don't know if you want to, if that's a specific situation with you and you want to take yourself off mute and explain.
Yeah, sure. So, basically, Zendesk, helps, analyze the customers, right? Analyze the customer metrics. So, for emerging businesses, in terms of less number of customers, with businesses having less number of customers, does Zendesk really play a big role, or does it really help small businesses?
So I'm just looking at the question again and then hearing it. Are you essentially saying with a small amount of customers, can Zendesk help you? Is that what you're saying? Or what are the things that it can help you with if you've got a small amount of customers?
Correct. I mean, I have used Zendesk, and it's a pretty amazing tool. But in terms of the size of the businesses, right? Do you have custom options, or is it more suitable for large businesses?
Yeah. Okay. Got you. So again, I think, I'm certainly not going to sell Zendesk here, because, if you're not ready for Zendesk, then you don't adopt it. But for those small businesses that do have traction, have customers, and you want to actually understand the analytics of your customer more, how are they interacting with you, how you can get, your churn rates, your customer effort scores, how much does it actually take somebody to actually interact with you, your CSAT scores, satisfactions, understanding how long it takes you to interact with somebody and then complete their transaction or complete their query, or then it's time it's time for you to use a Zendesk, and grow with Zendesk. I think the other part of it is, if you get to a point where you're playing catch up, then it's too late. So it's really difficult for me to say now is the time that you need to adopt software to help you with customer service.
Yes.
And it's up to you to go, actually, if I've got some milestones that I'm trying to achieve in the next 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months, and you're wanting to get there, then I would build with Zendesk, so that once you actually get those problems of scale, then you already implemented it, then you're good to go, and it's going to help you in the long run. But the data analytics and the dashboards that you can create off the back of it to really understand your customer, second to none. They're superb, especially with the integration of AI and models that can help you with your workforce engagement as well, to figure out when you need people on shift and when you don't. And that's a whole load of other stuff that we can talk about. And AI we haven't even touched on yet. So
Okay, thank you.
right.
One thing that I wanted to touch on actually on that note was how you measure customer success. So you mentioned some things that you can do. And I don't know if anyone here has actually gone out and done an NPS survey or spoken to their customers or tried to think of a way to collect feedback to understand what the sentiment is towards your business or towards a particular product. But Jeremy, what can people do at this point?
So early on, easy stuff. First off, understand your customer journey. Make sure you're noting down that journey and figuring out where they are and how they're solving their needs. Right, that's that. If it comes to measuring your customer, understanding NPS scores is really important. Net promoter scores. If you're unsure about what it means, it's those in the 9s and 10s that are actually promoting your business elsewhere in the market. And then there are apathetics and detractors. So yeah, you need to go and have a look at it. NPS 1, customer satisfaction scores. So how satisfied are your customers with the product or service specific interaction that they might have? CSATs, customer effort scores. So measure how much effort a customer has to exert to gain an issue resolved or to buy from you or to get a request fulfilled. So CES, customer effort score. Churn rates, the life cycle of your customer. Lifetime value will be derived from your churn rates. So there's 2 other measurements there as well that you can get a better picture of your customer, how long they stay with you, how much they buy from you, giving you long-term value, but also customer churn rate. Why do they actually drop off? Why do they go to your competitor? Understanding that's really important to then play it back in a big circle to your product development, and marketing messages, acquisition, but also being able to keep them as a retention strategy. And then two other measurements that I would say: first contact resolution. So how many complaints or queries or are resolved within the first interaction, and then the average resolution time. How long does it actually take you to get that person back to the value that you're delivering for your product or service, and how quickly can you deal with issues, complaints, problems, and how they handled. Within that, it is how quickly can you get somebody to the right person in your organization to support them, because it might be a technical query, it might be a buying query, it might be a third party payment system inquiry, it might be. So understanding the the chain of getting that person to the right person first time is really important. Yeah, all leading to lifetime value stuff.
Yeah,
Giving you 7 or 8 there, I think. But if you do those things, you can see your customer retention rate. Then you've got loads of different analytics there to go at to change the way you operate to actually deliver more value and to retain some more customers.
yeah, that makes sense. And then last question from me is, I think you've got, I might be wrong, but I think you've had in your last CX trends report some data on what the unicorns or what the most rapidly growing scale-ups are doing in order to be growing that fast. So one thing was about kind of creating fans rather than just having customers, but is there any other things that the unicorns or the super fast growing, rapidly scaling scale-ups are doing that startups could implement from a kind of customer love perspective that you think it's worth them knowing about?
Yeah, definitely. And that's how we segment it. I'm trying to do this in 4 minutes. That's how we segment our trends report into different sizes of business and understand what they're doing at what stage of business. The important things for you to know are that whatever I say now, unicorns do faster. So the things that you need to be really thinking about, first off, within and this comes from the moment you get investment. Because that was just a delineation in the amount of startups we work with. It's like, right, from investment, what do unicorns do? So 27% have self-help content within the first 24 months. And unicorns have more than non-unicorns or high growth companies within those first 24 months. So more self-help content. So if you've got a frequently asked question list, that can really feed that self-help content. You start uploading that to what we call a knowledge base that people can dip in and dip out of and get the answer to their question quicker than they can be interacting with you and waiting for an email response or whatever that is right now. 33% more likely to add support in year 1. And what does support look like to you? It can vary. What I'm not saying is go and get yourself a call center. Whatever support looks like to you, then unicorns are 33% more likely to add some sort of support within that first year. And again, that could link to that knowledge base. It could link to your mobile phone. It could link to some sort of support videos that you might pull from the web, or anyway, it's about getting that value cycle going. 33% are more likely to add omni-channel by year 2 after investment. And we talked about that omni-channel, so where your customers need to be interacting with you. So WhatsApp, email, so that omni-channel approach to communication, and then having something in the middle which then allows you to see that history of interaction with that customer, no matter where it's come from. So what you don't want to be doing is trying to merge an email with something that you've got over on WhatsApp over here. You have to have something that kind of houses that, so you can have a quick view and do that. And then the other thing, live, 20% more likely to add live chat by year 2, 16% more agents assigned to live chat than average agents in a live chat, and that comes a bit later down the line when it comes to those unicorns. So yeah, that's where I'll be looking. And a quick stat on the AI front, 79% of consumers believe AI has to become a crucial part of customer service. 79% believe that it must be part of it, and 66% expect companies of all sizes to use AI in CX. And also, it just makes sense because it drives scale. There you go, did it in 3 minutes.
I was actually going to ask whether, on the live chat, you can have a human or you can have like the bot kind of response, whether there's any difference in terms of how customers perceive the human interaction versus a bot interaction. Because from my experience, when you use bots, you're going through this process and it's quite difficult to get the actual answer to any nuanced questions that you're asking. And normally the bots go through the knowledge base that they've created anyway, which you could have found for yourself.
So annoying. So with the upload of AI, what you are able to do now is actually search those knowledge base to a specific phrase or word grouping, which allows you to actually pick out of a big article that right thing. But the question you're saying, you know, bot versus human, the more we create a human interface with that bot, and the seamless connection from bot to human when it's necessary is really important. So, and it's such a simple thing. It's almost like human language. So interestingly enough, more people, I'm not advocating for this, but the more human you can make that language, the better. So if you add a spelling mistake in there, it actually looks like a human's written it. You'll get more interaction with it. There's little things like that you just make that text more human, allow people to think that they're actually interacting with you as a person.
Yeah.
And making an avatar human as well. So instead of a robot, have a picture of yourself at home with the dogs, or whatever that might look like. You know, the more human you can make it, the more interaction you'll get.
Liv was just asking for those stats again. Do you have like a visual or something? Because if it's easy, then we can just send it around afterwards. Or
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you the trends report, and then you can just kind of go through it. If you go, in fact, I can't give you it, but if you type into Google Zendesk CX trends, then there's a whole web page dedicated to the report, and you can go and flick through another control F it and find startups.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, giving all those tips. Thanks to everyone that got involved and shared some of your insights with us as well. And Jeremy, we will let you go. If anyone wants to connect with you afterwards, is LinkedIn the best way, or omni-channel? So
yeah, I am omni-channel. Email, LinkedIn. Happy for you to share my email. But yeah, LinkedIn. I try to be responsive on LinkedIn.
Cool. Great. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thanks all. Take care. Bye.